I saw ours one day.
I did too. You need to be like, yes. I know.
Congratulations, Sarah. I didn't get a chance to talk to you. I had the benefit of emailing Chris for other things, so I had to congratulate you. Danielle.
Gail. That's here.
No.
That's all right. I just forgot anything. She's scale.
Danielle.
She's scale boss. I'm vice versa. Out of the camera. So stop telling people congratulations and have side conversations.
Not unless you want everybody to hear those side conversations.
Welcome, everybody. I am going to call our meeting to order and ask everybody to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I am going to veer from our agenda a little bit and get started. I know this is causing our dear Dr. Spina a lot of angst. He typically is very much in control in knowing what's happening, so I know this is causing him a little bit of angst, so we're going to get started. Our Congresswoman, Julie Brixley, was going to be here to be presenting him with an award. Unfortunately, she had a family emergency and could not attend today. She sends her regrets, and she is very sorry that she could not be here, and she hopes to attend another board meeting to congratulate you. But that being said, you get me. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me a little bit. So, as many of you know, our dear superintendent retired from the National Guard in May. Okay? And he, after many community members asking, what are we going to do, board members asking what we were going to do, we really respected his wishes. He really didn't want anything. He just kind of wanted to retire and walk away. So we respected that. When the state of Michigan calls and says, we'd like to give your superintendent an award, we say, okay. He deserves that. So I've worked in many school districts with many superintendents, many different administrators, staff, and one thing I've learned about myself and many people is that most of us, it's very difficult to do a whole bunch of things really well. And most of us can do, a handful of things really well. And that's kind of where we should stick to. I've had the privilege within my short life to meet some people that could truly do 100 things really, really well. And one of them has to be our own Dr. Adam Spina. He actually can probably do 1,000 things, and he does each and every one of them really, really well. When we first were hiring him, and he was going through the interview process, I was having a really difficult time with our choices. We had really good candidates, and we kind of broke up into groups, and then called references and talked with the individuals. And I wanted to talk to all of the references. And I found, I'm not a hoarder, so I don't know why I kept this, but I did find the sheet that I wrote notes on for Dr. Spina. And at one point I put, I can't even keep up. Like, they the glowing reports that they were giving, it just made me, like, in both of them, one was from a director of the school in Valencia that he was in, another is a chief of staff colonel in the Army. And I really, when I got done, I was talking to another board member who did this, and we both, I was like, Adam, I think, is probably 10 or 12 years younger than I am, and I really feel like I've accomplished nothing because he had accomplished so much in this amount of time. And both individuals were really sad that he was not going to be a career military man or staying at the school in Valencia and continuing that career. You know, we have benefited greatly from not only his expertise in curriculum and his knowledge to think outside of the box and his, I don't even know where his grant ability or where he finds money, but when he first started, we kind of said, we have nothing. Like, if we have one teacher go on some type of leave, we are in big trouble. And Adam somehow was able to find paint to paint our buildings, find furniture to replace some old stuff, had teachers thinking outside of the box, saying whatever you can do to help your kids learn in the best environment, we will do. So come to me and let me know what it is that you can do. And he supported those initiatives, no matter how crazy they might sound or seem. And I know sometimes he'll say, you know, I'm ready to be done with the military, and I get that. But the expertise that he got from that military that he brought to us, his perfectionism, his order, his there's another word, his organization, but mostly for me, the security and safety measures he's brought to this school. We're one of the first in the county, and that expertise has gone past just our buildings. And for that, I think this board owes him a huge debt of gratitude and thankfulness. And I know he's going to get up here and he's going to say, I couldn't do this without all of you. He's right. So I do want to acknowledge Narda Murphy, who I think saw something in Adam when he was just a wee little thing first year teaching. And I also would like to thank his mom and dad, because no one is this exceptional without them. You did a good job raising this man. I was going to say boy, he's a man. And I also want to thank his wife, who I know can't be here, but I know for a fact behind every good person is someone standing by you, and she does lift you up in ways that the rest of us can't. So I thank her for sharing you with us. And lastly, I do want to thank you on behalf of this board. I'm a handful. Many of you might not know that, but a lot of us have different opinions, different ideas, and sometimes when we're all coming at him, I'm sure he'd like to just throw in the towel or run away, and he doesn't. You do your job with grace and dignity, and we are so thankful that you are part of our community. And this award is so, so greatly deserved. So, on behalf of the state of Michigan, a special tribute to Dr. Adam J. Spina on the occasion of his retirement from the U.S. Army. I could read this whole thing, but
you already talked
he's
more
not
than
going to
3
want
minutes.
to.
Well, it's good seeing all of you here.
here. I guess I didn't know what the congratulations for, and it's always a relief to know you're not going to get fired, so something was going on. I don't know, I guess since I didn't know this was happening, I don't really have anything prepared other than I'll just say that it's always been an honor and a privilege to work here in Williamston. I talk often about the Williamston way and how everybody here does so much more than what they're compensated for because they care about the children in our district, they care about the community, and they're just a group of special people that are part of our district, to include our leadership team here. So thank you all for being here. That means a lot. It's unexpected, and I think I ceded the rest of my time to you. So,
Yeah.
so,
Well, we would
that's
like
all
to
I
do
got.
we would like to do some pictures, and we have cake, and I promise we won't keep you long, and then we'll move on with the meeting, because we have a meeting he's gonna want to get to. But do some pictures with
Yeah,
your
yeah.
parents.
All right. I guess that's what the meeting's
So can we get pictures with his parents and all of his parents, all of you, and Seneca? Hi, nice to meet Yeah, I want to try to hide
Okay. Okay, look here. Seneca, look here. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay. The kids, when the woman is born too. It is official. We have to go away and take another picture.
You can do it.
Well, it's not.
Congratulations, Adam. You didn't know that at all? You know me, unlike me, she's like, I say one, I'm shorter than I get a awards from the state of Michigan and the Armed National I think it some of you might need to stay ready.
Okay, here we go. On three, 1, 2.
Good.
different meeting for us to submit a slip of paper if you want to comment, you can make a comment. Yeah. I mean, normally somebody, you have to fill out a paper.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna pull us back together. Thank you, everybody. Please help yourself. If there is a cake cut, please help yourself to cut some cake. We're gonna get back to our agenda. So, right now we have another celebration, so I'm going to let Deb take the podium.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank the board for the consideration of the assistant principal position. And with that, I'm enthusiastically recommending for your approval the employment of Mr. Adam Supanowski for the Williamston Middle School assistant principal position. After reviewing the resumes of the applicants and interviewing candidates, an extensive team of middle school educators unanimously selected Mr. Supanowski as a candidate to recommend to the school board. As you'll note in his resume, he's a highly qualified candidate. He has 4 years of outstanding experience at Coldwater, working specifically at Legg Middle School in Coldwater, Michigan. Prior to administration, he taught for 11 years, and his range of teaching experience ranged from kindergarten to 6th grade. He's also led a lot of initiatives at Coldwater, including the professional learning communities. He's also participated in managing disciplinary and attendance systems and collaborated with teachers during the implementation. Outside of the classroom, Mr. Supanowski is very busy. He has coached a variety of sports: track, basketball, baseball, and football, ranging from head girls varsity coach at Coldwater High School all the way down to youth sports in Williamston. His commitment to the community is ongoing, and for some of you who already know him, you may know that he is a parent in our community. The superintendent of Coldwater Community Schools stated, "It will be devastating to lose Adam. He is great with kids, a team player, and works well with his colleagues." His immediate supervisor said that he is a real team leader. He is always visible and really takes students as a top priority. Another reference stated that Mr. Supanowski is very reflective, efficient, and visible on a daily basis to students and staff. It is with high regard that I would like to recommend Mr. Adam Supanowski as Williamston Middle School's assistant principal. Do you have any questions for me?
So am I going to pronounce it's Supanowski?
Yes.
Am I saying that correctly? Supanowski. Do we have any questions? All right. This is one of, again, the fun things that we get to do. Do I have a motion to recommend Adam Supanowski as the assistant principal to the middle school?
Make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education hire Adam M. Supanowski to be the Williamston Middle School assistant principal beginning December 12, 2022.
Second. And a second, Deb. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Welcome. I'm sorry, we are not up in that much, but we do want to welcome you to our school.
This is getting a nice exercise, this board meeting. Whatever I missed today, I'm getting my steps in.
Oh, okay.
Again, I know I didn't make this announcement at the beginning of the meeting. I typically do and I forgot. Please do not feel that you have to stay for our meeting. I appreciate all of you being here to celebrate Adam. And if there is somewhere you need to be, please feel free to exit. I do also want to, our secretary Amanda is not here, so I forgot to point, Julie is acting secretary for this meeting. Now we're coming up to citizen comments. This part of citizen comments has anything to do with items on the agenda. So if it's a comment that you have that is on our agenda, you may step to the podium. You have 3 minutes. If you would like to address the board on something other than what is on the agenda, we have a second chance for citizen comments at the end of our meeting. So does anybody want to address the board with something that is on our agenda? Okay, we're going to move right along. And Adam, celebrations. Another one.
All right, well, a couple things. So I guess first I'll go over the item on the website of the celebrations link. So this story, we had 2 graduates from this past spring, summer, but they had their applications submitted. They were nominated for this award back last spring. So 2 of our recent graduates earned leadership scholarships from the Greater Lansing United Nations Association, and that will provide them additional funding to pursue their college education. So congratulations to both of them and for our Model UN advisors for submitting those applications. I think we've had now over the last several years 5 or 6 students win this award, so this adds 2 more to that list. So it speaks highly of the program, the advisors, and the students in that program. At the risk of trying to overly celebrate ourselves this evening, I do want to because again, I didn't know this was happening, but I do want to celebrate Sarah Tynan, our Director of Finance, for completing the MSBO Business Manager Academy last year. As we've discussed previously, last year was probably the most complicated year in memory in terms of school finance, and again, coming into the role, doing an outstanding job, and also completing this academy in the midst of all the other things that were going on speaks very highly of Sarah. So I wanted to make sure the board was aware of her successful completion of this program, which is pretty significant. It's an 11-month commitment to it. She did extremely well. All right, so then moving on, we have our upcoming high school musical, Beauty and the Beast, and so I thought it would be fun this evening to play the trailer for that. The show will be this coming weekend, and so I'll let Dave cue up the trailer so we can take a look at a preview of the performance.
I am the master of this castle. I do not take orders from anyone.
I'm Naomi Egger, and I play Belle.
And I'm Skylar Shastine, and I play Beast.
My name is Garrett Lemon, and I play LeFou.
My name is Kyle Poima, and I play Gaston.
This? There's no pictures.
I'm Noah Beard, and I portray the character of Cogsworth.
I'm Michael Vialba, and I play Lumiere.
Hello? Someone here?
Why did I sit here?
Oh, well, hello.
I think it's kind of every little girl's dream to be a princess.
There's us. We're pretty great.
It's us.
Yeah.
It disturbs me to see Gaston looking so down in the dumps.
Personally, for my friends, to get them to go, I say, you'll get to see me sing. We are guests. We are guests. Put our service to the test.
Come see Beauty and the Beast because a lot of people have put a lot of work into it, and it's going to be so good. You don't even know. It's going to be great.
Come see Beauty and the Beast. It's going to be a great time. There's a lot of fun sets. We got the castle. It looks amazing. All the sets look amazing. And yeah, it's going to be great.
Come to Beauty and the Beast. It'll be a lot of fun, and you'll get to see me just fall around stage a whole bunch. Comedic relief.
Come see Beauty and the Beast so you can see Gaston.
Des Voozes, won't we?
Oh, yes. Yes.
For people who haven't seen Beauty and the Beast, I would just say it's a classic. It's a great movie. and you should go see it. You get to see your classmates, your schoolmates, act and perform and sing. So
Come to Beauty and the Beast because I'm Cogsworth.
and I'm Lumiere.
And I'm the head of the household. I'm the better actor here. We both know that.
But I am Lumiere. I am the French accent. I sing Be Our Guest.
But I get to sing in Humid again.
Well, I get to sing in Humid again as well. So.
And I get to sing in Something There.
Oh.
With you.
Yes, true. We get. You know what? We're friends.
A lot of hard work went into the show. Actually, I saw a mock-up of the set, I don't know, a month or two ago, which was pretty impressive. So
It's nice to unwind after a long week of telling people how Liberty Mutual customized.
if you need insurance. So I think it'll be a great show, and looking forward to seeing the kids their performances. And then lastly, we were really thrilled by the overwhelming support of the community for the community recreation millage renewal. I believe it was 67% in support, which was, I think, by far the largest landslide of anything I think that was on the ballot. So just really appreciate the community's support, recognition of the symbiotic relationship of the fitness center for the community, and how the community in turn supports the fitness center, and that will allow us to continue the programming of the enrichment office, continue to keep the pool operational, and obviously provide the fitness center, the track, and the other services that millage helps provide the community. So very grateful and appreciative of that support, and look forward to another 10 years of being able to provide that service to the Williamston community. That is celebrations this evening. Any questions?
Do you have any questions for Adam? Education update.
So we're trying to more formalize or standardize the education update versus discussion items. So what we're trying to move forward with is that if there's a presentation or it's informational only, the board doesn't need to do anything with it, vote on it or approve it. That'll be where education update is used. And then an education update that does require board action, we're going to put under discussion. So for example, tonight there's actually two things that I would consider, two items that I would consider to be educational updates, but that also require board approval. So we just move them down to discussion. So I think kind of moving forward, that'll be the way to delineate between the two. So that being said, there is no separate education update this evening.
Superintendent report.
So upcoming agenda items or presentation items in December. Our athletic director, Paige Polson, will be here to present a recap of fall athletics as well as a preview of winter sports. And we'll also provide an update on the previously mentioned enrichment office, pool, and fitness center. And then in January is the board's organizational meeting. We will also be bringing mid-year hire probationary teacher recommendations to the board for consideration. And then moving on to a recap of professional development. With all the different things that are going on, I think it's a good opportunity to remind the board that both of our elementary buildings are really diving into the new ELA curriculum that was approved last year. And so as we kind of mentioned in the spring when that was approved, the majority of their PD this year is really going to be focused on understanding and implementing that new curriculum effectively. So both buildings at our 1st of November PD focused on that. Bookworms brought a consultant out to work with both staffs to continue their progression on incorporating that. The middle school focused on a variety of their school improvement initiatives, kind of using a department-focused PD model. So some examples include literacy, continuing to improve their behavior supports for students and their grading procedures. And then the high school continued their work on standardizing their grading practices, specifically focusing in on extra credit. So that was the focus at the building level. As the board's aware, at the district level, half that day was spent focused on school safety initiatives. And so we had a variety of training opportunities that all of our staff attended, either the AM session or a PM session. That included a review of run, hide, fight protocol, which was taught by the Michigan State Police, bomb threat protocol, which was taught by the Ingham County Sheriff's Office, and then a first aid course, which was taught by representatives from NISA and then our district school nurse, Amanda Guidas. I would say that I understand there's probably different perspectives to the training that took place that day, understandably so. It's a very uncomfortable, difficult topic to discuss, and not something that, quite frankly, educators should have to worry about. But unfortunately, we can't control some of the realities of the world we live in. Staff did a great job throughout the day. Like I said, difficult topics. I would say that one of the positive byproducts of it is that more people in the last couple of weeks with good questions or bringing up creative ideas or different things that, some cases we hadn't caught in an assessment or discussed before. So I think that collective understanding and familiarization will continue to benefit us down the road, and definitely has people talking and thinking about things, which is good. So that is a recap of the November professional development, pending any questions that the board might have.
All right, ISOA, Sarah.
We had a meeting November 2nd, and we had a literacy update from the ISD Deputy Superintendent of Instruction. And she talked to us about a literacy initiative that was started pre-COVID, and it's initiative throughout the ISD, and it was it's about early intervention and goals of this, and kind of next steps coming out of COVID. We also had an update from Superintendent's Roundtable from Jennifer Wanell, who is the superintendent from Dansville. She talked to us mainly about school safety discussion that was happening around the Superintendent Roundtable. And then, of course, we had discussions, district updates from everyone that was present from around the ISD.
Are there any questions for Sarah on ISOA? Okay. First discussion item, Ferris State University dual enrollment.
Good evening. My name is Steve Dell, principal at Williamston High School. I would like to introduce Dee Dee. She is here joining us this evening from Ferris State University, is going to talk about a proposed concurrent enrollment program at WHS. I'm also here, and Michelle Greenleaf, our academic counselor, is also here too. So as we go through this process, Dee Dee's going to explain what it looks like from the Ferris side of things, but I'm sure there will be some questions about what this will look like if implemented at WHS. So we're here for that as well. So I'm going to turn it over to her, but it might be kind of a three-person roundtable discussion.
Always my favorite way. All right, good evening. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Dee Dee Stakely. I'm the Director of Transfer and Secondary School Partnerships at Ferris State. If I sound funny or if I'm not loud enough, please let me know. I have an ear infection, so everything's echoey. So just yell if I need to be louder. Usually that's not an issue. I really wanted to talk to you about kind of what the partnership would look like with Williamston if we move forward with this initiative. We've been talking for quite a while about what the partnership could look like. One of the things that's always really important for me to share is that the partnership at a high school or at a career center is very much unique to that individual school district, right? It's not a cookie cutter approach. It's not, one size fits all. It really does make a difference on what the district is looking for so that we can build that and have an impact for you and your students and your families that will be a lasting approach. So a couple of things. Why is the partnership important? Ferris is committed to working with Williamston to make this, this partnership and collaboration work. We also believe that through dual enrollment opportunities, and concurrent enrollment is one of those forms, through those opportunities, students are able to save time to degree and save money, right, in their tuition. So they leave high school with a college transcript, with less time to degree, and less student debt. That piece is important because we don't want to just throw courses out at students and say, oh, well, here's some courses you can take, and not have them be meaningful. So for some school districts, it's really looking at general education classes. So it could be, for instance, here, a math class as a starting point, or a history class that helps to meet the Michigan Transfer Agreement and meets general education classes, regardless of where the student's going to end up at college after high school. Now, I say that because we would love to have your students come to Ferris after high school. However, we know that Ferris is not the right place for all students after they graduate high school. We want students to come for a campus visit, see is it a good fit, but do we believe that dual enrollment opportunities are a right fit for students while they're in high school? Absolutely, we believe that that makes sense for your students, or for students across the state. And if you have questions as I go through, please don't hesitate to just ask. I'm not one of those people that says, just wait till I'm done. Right, so if you have questions, just let me know.
Okay, so I have one.
Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I think you mentioned this, but I just want to make sure. So would there be a cost, a credit cost
Yes.
for students? Okay.
Yeah.
So we can get to that. All right.
Yep.
Sorry.
Oh, no, I
you
appreciate
mentioned
that.
money
When we
and I
get to
wasn't
the slide where we talk about the different types of collaboration, we'll talk some about tuition.
sure. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. So some of the partnership components. One, there's a signed MOU. That's important for a number of reasons, because the first reason being, you know what to expect from Ferris, and Ferris knows what to expect from you. Keeping in mind that signed MOU is not a contract, it's not legally binding, it's simply a collaboration contract, collaboration memorandum of understanding, that really says we're going to do what we need to together to do what's good for your students. When you look at the dual enrollment legislation for MDE, right, they set a number of courses that students can take or that schools are obligated to pay for dual enrollment. When you have a signed MOU with a post-secondary partner, you don't have to limit yourselves, right, to those number of credits or number of courses, and that's in the legislation as well.
And MOU stands for?
Oops, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Can you just remind me what MOU stands for?
Memorandum of Understanding. Yep.
Thank you.
And we have the Memorandum of Understanding that we use generally. It's a secondary partnership agreement and Memorandum of Understanding. It's very consistent with what we use with other partners across the state. However, it can be tweaked to make it exactly what you're looking for as well.
I have a question.
Yes.
Exactly what is the purpose of the MOU? Is it to keep the students with an understanding, help them know that they are expected to do something, but it's not a contract? I mean, I'm not clear.
It really is just an agreement between the school district and the university.
Okay.
So it really lays out what is the school district going to do. So you're going to help identify students and help them to get registered, allow them to register. We're going to make sure that you have the curriculum, that we're registering them.
The student doesn't sign anything like that?
What's that?
Okay. It's not for the student, it's
No,
between you and
no.
the school? Okay.
Students will receive syllabi, which are really their contracts with the classes, though.
Okay.
The courses are offered for credit, and they're identified by Williamston. So Williamston's going to say, hey, Dee Dee, we want these gen ed classes, or we want a career exploration course, or maybe you have a business program, and you say, you know, we'd really like to help students get a certificate in marketing. And so then those are the paths that we'll start looking at. It's always important to keep in mind that those courses that are offered for Ferris credit are true Ferris courses. So the curriculum is university curriculum, and the standards are university standards. Now what that doesn't say is that when you have a class that's taught in a high school, say English, and it's for college credit, when you really look at where the gaps and the overlaps are, there's often many overlaps in your curriculum and in the college or university curriculum. So we're not coming in and saying, hey, you've got to just dump everything you're doing and let's start over, right? It's really looking at strategically where are those gaps and where are the overlaps, and then filling in the blanks where we need to. You also have much more contact time with your students to make sure that you're meeting all of those high school requirements as well. We'll collaboratively recruit students, and Ferris will admit and register those students. With that, if you're looking for a press release or you want us to develop a handout that you would send out to your either electronically or snail mail to your families, we'll help you with all of that. To go along with that, we'll also make sure that you have signage. If whatever you want. So if you want a sign outside the building that says Ferris State University at Williamston High School, we can do that. If you want a bulldog banner, and our mascot's a bulldog, we do 6 foot tall grommet, 6 foot tall vinyl banners with grommets, and it has the bulldog, and he holds a sign that says Ferris State University with your logo. And we do those for our partner schools, and those are at no cost to the districts as well. The other piece that's always important is that your students and your instructors who might teach Ferris courses have access to any of the resources that our students and instructors have on campus. So we have a faculty center for teaching and learning, or a staff center. We have a research library. So any of your instructors who might be teaching Ferris courses would be able to utilize those resources. Any of your students taking classes for college credit have access to their Ferris ID. They have access to the research library. If they are available and they want to come to campus for an event or participate in activities, they can do that. Or they can participate in virtual activities. They're true college students at that point. All right, so I'm good there. So some of the benefits. As I mentioned earlier, the program would be created to meet exactly what you need here. And that's important. Some school districts, I might be working with a superintendent, and he says, Dee Dee, I know what to do with these students who are 4.0 students, and I know what to do with these students who might have cognitive disabilities, but I don't know what to do with these students who are kind of on the bubble and not quite college ready yet. I don't have any programming for them. Then we sit and talk through what could that look like to develop a program where we're working with students about a level below college ready to get them college ready before they leave your high school, right? Because we know that the research shows that those students will have a much greater opportunity for success if they're prepared when they leave. So those are some of the things. One of the things that we've talked about here is college courses can be used in place of or in collaboration with your AP courses. And they can be used to meet the Michigan Transfer Agreement or college or university general education requirements. So if a student is taking courses through Ferris and they get the MTA stamp through Ferris, that's good if they go to another college or university in Michigan as well. An enhanced profile of college opportunities. This one's always fun because school districts do different things. I worked with a school district that put together a whole flyer of all the college credit opportunities at their high school, and they used it for marketing. So for them, it was a way to increase their school of choice students. And I know, right, that gets really tricky and it can be a fine line to walk. But I have had school districts that really look at college credit opportunities or certificates, those type of things, as an opportunity to promote your school from a school of choice perspective. Reduced cost for tuition. So the cost for tuition at Ferris, if a student is dual enrolled, and I'm just going to jump and talk about this if that's okay. We have 4 different types of college credit opportunities for high school students. The first is what we call, just change the term to direct enrollment. And that was what we called dual enrollment off campus. And we have new finance people on campus, and they're like, Dee Dee, this is too confusing for me. Call it what you want, I'm good with that. So really for us, what direct enrollment means is that I work with our faculty to identify general education courses that will help a student to meet that MTA or our gen ed classes fully online, and I can market those to schools across the state. The advantage is I'm not competing for seats with traditional students, right? Oftentimes I may have a Western Civ history class that I'm offering fully online to high school students across the state, and generally those are asynchronous so that it's not a scheduling issue. But when I have open seats, I created a separate CRN that's connected for our traditional students as well. So I have a whole list of those classes. I already know what I'm offering next year for fall and spring in general education courses for students in Michigan, for our high school students. So that's one form of dual enrollment. The next form is concurrent enrollment, and that's what we've been talking a lot about here at Williamston. Concurrent enrollment really means that we're working with your high school instructors to identify instructors who meet our credential requirements at the college or university and are able to teach a class for college credit as part of their regular high school schedule. So for instance, you have a math teacher and he has a master's in math. Our math department reviews it and says, yep, that instructor can teach for us, and here's the classes that he can teach. That would be concurrent enrollment. The first type of enrollment, direct enrollment, that's generally a Ferris faculty or adjunct teaching those classes. Concurrent enrollment is your instructors who've been identified to meet the requirements, they've been vetted. They teach a Ferris course. They use a Ferris syllabus, they use the same outcomes, same key assignments, but they also have flexibility, just as all of our faculty do, to make the course their own. They're also assigned a faculty liaison at Ferris in their program, right? Because we don't want instructors to ever feel like, oh my gosh, this is a great opportunity, but I have no idea what I'm doing, right? What do you want from me? So we try to make sure that doesn't happen. So they are assigned a faculty liaison who they can connect with.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Of course.
So let's say we'll use that math example, and let's say instead of an AP stats class, we have a teacher at our high school that could teach that. And he's vetted and he goes through it. Instead, AP would be traditionally a full year class. Would the alignment then be that it would be a one semester course that the students would go through and be done by one term, because it's in alignment with the terms that Ferris is under?
Yeah, so that's a little bit flexible as well. So if there's an instance where, let's use English, you have English 1 and English 2 from a university perspective. There are times, like in an AP English situation, where the students might complete English 1, our English 1 in their first semester and English 2 in the second semester. Or if it's a case where there's only one class, like that stats class, we would work with the instructor and say, okay, where is the content, where is the majority of the Ferris content taught? Generally, it's going to be second semester. So we would wait and register those students in that second semester, because that's where the majority of that content is covered. We don't run any classes as full year classes, just because it keeps it cleaner and raises less issues from an accreditation perspective. But we can, if a class is taught primarily in one term, the content for the university, then we can do the course in that term.
But it is possible then that a full year course could be condensed down to a one term.
Absolutely.
If we would want that.
Yep, if you decided that that's what you wanted. We work with some schools that are trimester. So I've got courses offered on the trimester schedule or on the semester schedule.
Thank you.
Yep, you're very welcome.
I just have a question in reference to that
Sure.
too. So he brought up AP, but you're kind of saying that even like like just some of our, like Algebra 2, which would be maybe your Algebra 1, if our curriculum met your standards and that teacher met, that they could take that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been talking primarily since we've been working on this collaboration about AP. However, I have a high school that I work with, and all of their AP English, AP Lit, Calc, Computer Science are all Ferris credit. However, some of those instructors not only teach AP English, they also teach senior English or junior English. And those classes can also be college credit. It just depends on if the instructor, if that's what the school district would like to offer for those students.
So question of reference, so they have to still take the AP exam if they're doing the AP at the end, or does that articulation like a B or 3.5 and higher transfers over?
Good question. So if it's a collaboration and you're still offering AP credit, the Ferris course, the students are registered, they earn the letter grade that they earn. So if they get through the end of the course and
direct enrollment.
they've scored, they get a B, they get a B. They may take the test still and get high enough to get 2 classes out of that, right, with the English. But they're two separate tests. So the important thing is that, from a Ferris perspective, the content is the same as it would be if it was taught on campus.
Okay.
But a student could easily take a class for college credit. Maybe they're not a student who tests well, so they've earned the college credit and they don't want to take the test. Okay. Or I've had students who take the class for college credit and they're registered at the beginning of the semester, and they take the AP test.
Right.
It just depends. Or I've had students who sit in the course and they don't want to take it for Ferris credit, they just want to do the AP.
All right, thank
Just
you.
another question, and this might be for Dr. Delp or Mrs. Greenlee. If a student is going through a dual enrolled course and it's being taught by one of our teachers, the grade that they receive in that course, would that count toward the GPA standard here? Or is it going to be like what we have now where if you're taking an outside course, that GPA is not counted toward the overall GPA?
So these courses, if this program is approved, would be considered concurrent enrollment. Okay, so it's going to be a Ferris class taught at the high school for an hour during the school day. So rather than dual enrollment, where right now the majority of our dual enrolled students are doing that virtually, one of the things that came through the pandemic was virtual communication, right? So our dual enrollment numbers have skyrocketed. We have
So dual enrollment is when we have nothing to do with it, they're just on their own taking
dual
a class and
enrollment
they do
is
it.
when they are like going to another school, whether in person or virtually, to take the class.
Yeah. And we have-
Concurrent enrollment is the college class, but physically taught in our building by our teacher.
Okay.
The way we are seeing this, if approved, is currently in a handbook, dual enrollment courses, when the student gets the grade at the end of the semester, can count towards the GPA and the student gets the letter grade, or they can take just credit. If a student's going to challenge himself or herself with a college level course, we don't want them to be penalized and they get a 3.5 in a college course, and that's going to ding their GPA a little bit. So as a reward for challenging themselves and taking a college level course, they get to decide if they're going to take the letter grade, which impacts their GPA, or just the credit on the transcript, which does not impact their GPA. And concurrent enrollment would be approached the same way.
And at what point in the term does that student have to make that choice?
We let the dual enrollment students have until the very end when they see what their grade is.
Oh, okay.
So then would this be looking at replacing, like if we looked at some of our AP classes and they had the same content that Ferris did, would it be replacing that AP class or would it be in addition to?
A little bit of both. So right now, our AP numbers are dropping. Our dual enrollment numbers through LCC primarily are increasing. They've doubled since last year. Students are choosing to take the dual enrollment courses for a variety of reasons. And this is not to say anything poorly about the AP program. It's a great program that serves a great purpose. But our students are looking at a variety of factors, such as in most courses, they can take an AP course for 2 semesters, pay to take a test at the very end, and earning college credit or not is dependent on that one test on that one day. They can now take a dual enrollment class that they do not have to pay for, that the school district pays for, in a 3 or 4 credit class in one semester, so they're cutting their time in half. So if they would like to, they can even take a second class, second semester, so now they're potentially earning 6 to 8 credits in that same time period, or get that college credit out of the way, and now I have a semester section open if I want to take an elective. Some students' schedules are very tight and they don't have an opportunity to take the electives they would like to in high school. So now they have a semester open where they can take an elective. They also earn their grade over the course of the entire semester, right? So the college credit is earned over the course of the entire semester instead of being dependent on one test at the end. In our understanding, is the credit potentially is more likely to actually transfer in that specific course as the credit earned. Some of the AP courses, the credit transfers as general elective credit. Not to say that some of our dual enrollment classes don't also, but the credit being taken at a college or university level, as Dee Dee said, is much more likely to transfer in, not all the time, but much more likely to transfer as that specific class. So when you look at transferring classes as specific credit, when you look at classes at half the time, when you look at the grade, the credit is earned over the entire semester. the cost of the concurrent enrollment through Ferris is less expensive than we're currently paying for dual enrollment through LCC, so the district is saving money. And the students and families do not have any expense unless they go over their allotted credit allotment, whereas they have to pay to take that AP test. So there are a whole variety of factors we're looking at this. Finally, because we think our teachers are phenomenal, rather than having our students do dual enrollment either in person or virtually through an outside institution, our teachers, such as Mr. Ray Herrick, who's here, he would potentially be our guinea pig for next year and would pilot our first class in the math department if this is a go. We would rather have our teachers in our building being taught by our teachers, but for that hour it is a Ferris class. It is a Ferris curriculum. Mr. Herrick would be considered adjunct Ferris faculty. So it's like a dual enrollment class. We're just providing the facility and the instructor. That's why it's called concurrent enrollment.
Can I ask you?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, can I ask one question about that? So, let's say it's, I'm going back to the stats example. So stats typically at our high school 2 terms because it's AP. If we ran that as a 1-term course, and maybe I may be getting way too into the weeds right now, and we don't have answers yet, but for that type of a course, that a teacher has prep time and release time for 2 terms, right? Based on what they have. If they're teaching that one course in 1 term versus 2, how does that work? Would that teacher also be doing another course in the winter term that would also be a dual
So we haven't quite figured this out, but there's a lot of conversation about what that could look like. There are certain courses, like let's say Stats 101, right, or Chemistry 101, where maybe the first semester we want to run a prep class. So it is actually a full year class on the Williamston rolls. The first half is a prep class. The second semester is when they actually take the Ferris class, right? To ensure that some of this, so that our students are prepared for those math and science college level courses. There are other courses, U.S. history, for example, right, that aren't necessarily scaffolded. So if I took U.S. history up to 1885, or I could take U.S. history 1886 to the present, I could take one or the other. There is also conversation, if we don't do the prep class, do we teach, right now, Mr. Herrick has 2 sections of AP Stats. So do we do AP Stats 101 first semester and AP Stats 101 second semester? Do we do AP Stats 101 first semester and run like a college algebra second semester and make it 2 separate courses? Do we run a Stats 101 and a Stats 102? So now they get 6 credits in stats potentially if they choose to take both classes. So there are a lot of possibilities as far as what we do with both of those semesters.
Great.
So what about Herrick compensation?
Say it again.
Compensation for Mr. Herrick. I mean, does Ferris State supplement? I mean, I'm
They
sure
do.
there's things that
They
he has
supplement
to do with it.
our, so this, I've talked about all the benefits to our students and families in the district saving money. Our teachers are compensated by Ferris as well for each section they teach each semester. So there is a financial incentive to our teachers to teach these courses. The requirement is they have a master's degree or 18 credits beyond their master's in their specific content area. So up to this point, there's not been a huge motivator to get a master's degree in your content area. If you're young or you have several years left in the classroom, you are going to have to put some work in to earn either the master's or the 18 plus if you already have a master's degree. It's going to cost you some money, but after you get through that couple years, right, of earning that credit or paying for those credits or degree, and if you did this for a while, it is lucrative. So there is a motivating factor for our teachers, again, to take advanced classes in their specific content area beyond their bachelor's level courses.
So are we looking at, all of the examples you gave, like how you could do different things, would that be based on what students' needs would be, like surveying them, or is it would it be based on like what teachers have and what they could teach and what we think we're first gonna do, like a
I
trial
don't
and
know,
error?
that's more of like an implementation question that we just honestly haven't gotten that far yet.
Then my other thing is how many of the, like, would we start with one class in the math department, one class in the English, and then maybe add?
We're gonna pilot, potentially, if this is approved by the board, one class or two, depending if we do Stats 101 and like Algebra 1 or College Algebra or Stats 102, but we're gonna start with just Mr. Herrick and see how this goes for a year. We have several teachers at the high school right now who are expressing interest in moving forward with this because it pulls those dual enrollment kids back in, the AP kids that we've lost, those AP kids that our teachers love to teach. It pulls them back into the classroom. It encourages our teachers, right, to continue their professional learning in their content area, and there's a stipend for doing so. So there is a financial benefit to them as well. So if this goes well next year, then we would look at potentially a couple different courses the following year. We have teachers in other content areas who are interested in this program.
So this wouldn't replace the dual enrollment opportunity at LCC. This would just be an addition.
If students still want to take dual enrollment, that's their right to do so. This would probably start to slowly replace our AP classes, and also looking at what dual enrollment classes are students really taking. So maybe there's a dual enrollment AP European history that a lot of our kids are taking through dual enrollment, European History 101. We've never offered that AP class, but if we see, hey, 15 kids a year are taking this, maybe it's something we want to look at offering. So what are our current AP classes we're offering? Where are we seeing students move from AP to dual enrollment in those courses? Also, where else are students choosing to take their classes? There are some classes we are never going to offer, such as Mandarin or Italian. There are classes we're just never going to have enough demand to do that. But when we look at our core content areas, and we look at some of our English classes and our history classes and our science and math classes, like I said, traditionally kind of where our AP classes have been, that's where we really see this going to start. I know there is talk about general high school classes earning credit, and that could potentially be discussed down the road, but we would really need to get this program in place first and pulling kids back into the school that we've lost from AP into the dual enrollment virtually.
That kind of leads me into a question that I had. Dee Dee, is there a requirement for a certain number of students that need to be enrolled, a certain number of Williamston students that need to be enrolled in a class for it to be offered?
Yeah, so no, I appreciate that. When we're paying the instructor, we're always looking at about an 8 to 10 head count of students that are registered, because that helps me to break even. So that's always important, is that break even piece.
And is that part of our mutual agreement of understanding? MOU?
I really don't remember if we have it written in there, but we could make sure if that's something that Williamston wanted written in there, right? We could make sure we do that. But we're generally looking at that break-even point. I don't look at dual enrollment as an opportunity for us to come out and make a fortune. One, I believe in the work that we do for dual enrollment. I have I'm trying to get back to pre-COVID numbers. We have right now about 800 high school students a semester earning college credit with Ferris. At varying levels, it just depends. So if we're looking at situations with an early middle college, I've got students earning 15 to 18 credit hours a semester, right? Because that's all they're doing is college credit. Sometimes a student might only end up with 1 college credit or 3. So it really does vary on what that looks like. The stipend for the instructor ends up being hired as an adjunct for the university. That stipend ends up being about $1,200 or $1,400 per credit hour. So a 3-credit class, if you figure $1,200, right, would be $3,600 stipend for the semester. The other thing that does for the instructor is not only are they qualified and able to teach the class as a part of the regular high school curriculum, they're also qualified, and if we're looking for an adjunct, either in person or virtual from this area, they have the potential to teach that as well and be one of our adjunct faculty. Math is an area that we're always looking for adjunct instructors. So a lot of different opportunities. I want to touch on the tuition, and you guys need to shut me down when you need to shut me down, because I could do this all night, right? This is fun stuff for me. So you tell me when you're like, Dee Dee, you're done. But the tuition, so I talked a little bit about those general education courses that we offer fully online, specifically, right, geared toward our high school students. For me, those are a form of concurrent enrollment. Not that they're taught by a high school instructor, but because I'm making sure that I have those courses available to our high school students, and then traditional students can fill in when I have empty seats. So those are going to cost the same as a concurrent enrollment course taught by your instructor. Dual enrollment at Ferris, traditional dual enrollment where your students are taking a class through Ferris on our campus or online, is open to all students. Those are offered at 2/3 of our undergrad tuition rate. So this year that's $298 a credit hour. Concurrent enrollment and direct enrollment, the two that we just talked about, are offered at half of the dual enrollment rate, or $148 per credit hour is the rate this year. The other piece that we work with high schools is that if your instructor is approved, sometimes there's not a specific book that's required. Other times there may be. Then we would work with you on that, but then we would agree, like, you could use a classroom set of books for X number of years, those type of things, when it's concurrent enrollment. All right. I think I've only got a couple more things here. And again, I don't want to keep you guys too long because I get too excited. This one we can skip because we just talked about that. Student participation, what we're looking at Williamston is a 3.0 GPA for your students to participate in dual enrollment opportunities at Ferris. Our GPA is 2.5, and that's our standard GPA for our students who come to Ferris, whether they're high school dual enrolled students or traditional students. Williamston would like to stick with that 3.0 GPA. And again, we respect the GPA that those decisions are with the school district. Course prereqs, if we have courses that have prerequisites, right, we can look at high school grades. Maybe it's a math class and they don't have SAT scores or PSATs. We can look at grades in math. Or we can look at ACT, PSAT, those type of tests as well, to look at how do we help students to meet those prereqs to register for classes. Most classes do not have a prereq. English and math, and then some higher level, of course, tend to.
I know on here you mentioned AccuPlacer. Is that something they can take here versus having to come out to Big Rapids?
Yeah, good point. AccuPlacer is our assessment internally that we use. It is an SAT product, and we can do that virtually.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're good there. Some benefits, right? We've talked about some of these. Most of these are no surprise. College courses can increase the rigor of the courses offered in your high school. Obviously, we're talking about starting with AP courses or those type of things. The rigor's already there. But for some students, a college course may be their first opportunity to take a class at that higher rigorous level. Students experience college while they're in high school and have access to college resources. We talked a little bit about that. You might have students in math, if the program's approved and we start with math next year, you could have students in math who say, you know what, I don't want to register for credit, and I'm not even going to do the AP test. And for us, that's okay, because the content of the course, the curriculum is still the same curriculum. Students are still exposed to that higher level content and that college content, so they're going to still have that much better opportunity to be successful in a college course in that discipline when they leave high school. So for us, that's okay. Students begin their college transcript while they're in high school. I always tell students, if you're not serious about college credit, don't register. It's not about numbers for me. If the student's willing to work hard and be successful, by all means take advantage of these opportunities. But if you're a senior and you're like, whatever, I'll do it if I can. Don't register for credit. I don't want students damaging their college transcript and possibly impacting their financial aid or admission eligibility. So for me, it's not about numbers, it's really about the right fit for students. We also have what we call the Ferris Next Scholarship. What that says is that any high school student who earns 3 college credits with us while they're in high school at a C or higher, meets admissions criteria, and comes to Ferris within 5 years of high school graduation, is eligible for $1,000 a year, renewable for 4 years, scholarship, simply for taking advantage of you paying for them to take a college class while they were in high school. That's one of the few scholarships that I know of, maybe the only one, where I don't have a limited number of those scholarships to provide. Students don't apply, there's no essay. They simply do the work while they're in high school, and if they come to Ferris, then we just automatically award it. So, and I said 5 years after high school. For us, we know that some of our students across the state may be place-bound, right? They may need to stay home to work or help support families. They may need to just take a year off. They may need to go to community college and do an associate's degree using those dual enrollment classes that they had an opportunity to do in high school. They may need to go to community college and finish an associate's degree and then do a Ferris degree either at our statewide locations or come to Ferris to main campus. So we wanted to make sure that they've got that 5-year window so it fits the student's situation regardless of what that is.
Can I ask you a quick question? Dr. Dell, this is a question for you. Just that you had mentioned that cost-wise, when we were talking about costs, you kind of alluded to the fact that it sounded like it's going to be a similar setup to what it is right now with LCC. So parents, students would not have to pay anything more out of pocket?
That is correct.
Okay.
Unless you go over your credit allotment.
Is that credit allotment going to be similar to what it is now with what you see?
Students are allowed to take 10 semester courses for 30 credits.
Okay, thank you.
For their whole,
for their high school career. So 10 semester courses, 30 credits. The district pays for it with the credit cost that Dee Dee mentioned. That is less expensive than we're currently paying for the LCC dual enrollment.
There aren't hidden costs in there, so there's no extra technology. If it's a fully online class, which your concurrent wouldn't be, there's a $12 per credit hour online fee, but there's not extra fees attached. So that's one thing that you're not going to see. If I say, hey, it's going to be $148 per credit hour, it's going to be $148 per credit hour.
So are we looking at this to be for mostly juniors or seniors or just whoever meets the requirement that wants to
We have
try?
some of our students that take AP classes their sophomore year. So we would not limit it by age. It would be ability level, looking at the individual student.
Okay.
And I appreciate that as well, because that does vary by school district as well. I have some school districts who say absolutely only juniors and seniors. I have other districts, for instance, I have a high school where I have students who are all sophomores. It's a Spanish immersion program, and they're going to be taking 300 level Spanish courses in the spring semester. It just depends on where the student's skill sets are and what the school wants to do.
So when you're talking about fitting our school with different programs, can that change as the years go on to meet our need?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This would be a program that's approved with Ferris. It is an external organization, right? So we do not have control over the curriculum. The board does not have curriculum approval. It would be like any other external academic organization the district partners with. So Michigan Virtual, Lansing Community College, Michigan State University, all of those other opportunities that students have to earn credit while at Williamston High School. They're really taken externally. The credit is earned through the external organization, and then basically the credit just transfers back onto the transcript. So this is the same thing. It's Ferris's program. It's Ferris's class. They would be using our facility in hiring our teacher as adjunct professor to be an adjunct professor for an hour to teach their class. So
how would that work with our evaluation system?
we could still evaluate Mr. Herrick the same way with 4 classes instead of 5. So our evaluation system does not look at by hour. The Danielson framework looks at the different domains which are not hour dependent to evaluate.
So if we ever had a teacher that was teaching like 5 years down the road, all classes for Ferris, we would still evaluate them under our Danielson system.
And we can also share our evaluations as well. All of our adjunct instructors are evaluated, whether they're teaching on campus in a high school setting, online, by their counterparts in the department, right, department chair. And so there'll be that piece of it. It's not a got you at all. It's really a, hey, how's things going? And if they're going well, that's wonderful. If there's things that maybe your student evaluation said that you could do this a little different. So those things will be in place, and we can share that data with you through our agreement as well.
So I have another question, like thinking down the line of a couple years. I mean, if we get rid of, if this replaces some of the AP classes, I mean, could it be to the point where we lose an internal math teacher? Like if he's there teaching only Ferris State classes and there's 10, 15, but we have the rest of the student population that needs algebra or something.
Or to speculate, I would think, I mean, we year in and year out roughly have students take the same number of English sections and science sections and math sections. Some of them are gen ed classes, some of them are AP sections, some of them are dual enrollment sections. I don't see with this program us having to reduce staff.
Or add staff. My thing was thinking if you have, like you said, students that are like, I don't want to take the Ferris class, but we're like, that's the only place that's got an open seat. We're kind of booked over here in math.
Well, and they still are in the class, they just don't take it for credit. So they're still in the class, right? So if it's a class that meets Algebra 2, they're still earning they're still in that class. For us, it'd be a Math 115. They're not registered for Ferris credit, but they're still in the same class as the other students who are earning credit with that instructor. They don't have to be moved to a different section. The content is still the same.
Yeah, my kind of thing, or it falls into more of the humanities studies, if we ever get to a point of the different type of humanity classes versus the, maths and sciences that are there.
I don't think
if we don't control that curriculum and that's what we're putting our students in because we don't have availability in others.
We're talking about the higher level courses, right? Freshmen are not going to replace English 9 with a college level course.
Right.
So we're still going to have our sections of English 9, English 10, English 11, English 12. My best guess for right now in the immediate is that it's going to be students who do take AP and dual enrollment classes are going to take the concurrent enrollment courses. Right. If we get to the point where we are offering gen ed high school classes for college credit, it would have to be upper level courses. So that's a bridge we would have to cross when we get there, individual course by course. But when you look at an overall content area like English, it's not going to be English 9, English 10, English. They're just the younger students aren't prepared for a college level course.
Right. Okay.
So there is a possibility that a student then could be taking a concurrently enrolled course with Mr. Herrick, a LCC course for dual enrollment, regular gen ed course, so on
and an
so
AP.
Forth. And an AP.
Right, so this, like Dee Dee said at the beginning, so we currently have AP and dual enrollment for college credit, potential college credit. This is a third opportunity to go into that same mix to, earn it a different way back in the building taught by our staff.
One of the things that I always like to share though about concurrent enrollment is it is an opportunity. I always try to go into things with kind of that equity lens. And so concurrent enrollment really does help to remove those access barriers to higher education for your students because the classes are taught right here. They're taught with an instructor that they're familiar with in a setting that they're familiar with. And it's that great bridge from high school to college then. But it helps to remove that access or that equity gap that often exists when students can't get to a college campus. Either A, they don't have a car, they can't drive, or it's too far, or any number of reasons. These type of opportunities, from my perspective, really do help to improve equity initiatives on your high school campus. And I look at the same way from the college perspective.
Talking about equity, Dr. Delp, how will your staff at the high school be able to have opportunities to be able to raise their hand and say, I want to be able to be considered for this in the future after the beta test?
Good question. We'll have to figure that out.
Okay.
Because we already have 2 staff members within one department, not math, expressing interest in participating. So exactly the criteria in concurrent enrollment courses that would be assigned to staff members would have to be figured out. And that's something I'm sure the teachers are going to have quite a loud voice in figuring that out.
Thank you.
That's it for me. If you have other questions for me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Very welcome.
Lots of great information, great opportunities for our students.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this was up for discussion. Is this looking at us to vote on this at our next meeting? Our December?
Yeah, well, I think that's the intent. Remember, you're approving the concept, right?
Correct.
The fine details would be worked out in that MOU that was mentioned. But, and I also want to reiterate that the district holds a lot of cards, right? So we're not ceding control over the high school to Ferris. So we have the opportunity to kind of grow this the way we want it to look. But the concept at this point is to start with the pilot next year, and then we'll continue to evaluate and keep the board appraised where it's heading, obviously pending your potential approval next month.
So if we approve it next month, I mean, do we still get to approve the classes as we add classes over time to? So no, so that's my only concern with
The only thing we're
it.
approving is that we want to move forward with this. I kind of feel like it is a pilot, so one teacher will do it, and if it totally falls apart, then we might not do it year 2000.
My only concern is like if it does grow, that we do lose that that ability to review curriculum for senior students, for junior students, if their curriculum takes over, because it is their curriculum, he said. So it would be Ferris State's.
It would be the same as what happens now with Lansing Community College or Michigan State.
Yeah, but my only thing is that's not our teachers, right? There's no parent saying, I don't like that curriculum, and it's like being taught by a Williamston teacher versus an outside dual enrollment now, which is a totally different college professor online kind of thing. So that would
be the part that folks might need to adjust to. That it would be the teacher is serving as a faculty member of the university during that period of time.
Well, and I guess I would put out there, Julie, that I think a parent would have a choice. They could choose to allow for the student to take it in the school. They could also allow to take it as a LCC course if they wanted to, and be able to and have some different options. So it's just another option in my perspective.
And I think the option is great. The perspective to me of the outside community on our curriculum and I'm thinking years down the road, 6-7 years down the road when it morphs into whatever. And that's why I just didn't know if we would have an ability to say we don't want to add that class, or we do want to add that class, or how that
I think we would. But once we add the class, the content's going to be theirs.
Right.
So.
Right. I think in my head, especially if I'm going to take a class from Ferris, is this Dee Dee, her name is Dee Dee, I believe, it said, a lot of kids take the class, and if it's a certain thing, it transfers anywhere. So I wouldn't think that we'd have a ton of kids that would want a specific class that wouldn't transfer anywhere. I'm thinking math, English, science, like those basic core classes, the same ones I give at LCC that we can move somewhere else.
I do have a question of clarity. You'll be potentially approving this next meeting, but would this fall into place in the spring or the fall?
I heard fall.
Fall. Okay,
We're
thank
looking
you.
to get it
Piloted in the fall.
Piloted in the fall.
Got
but
it,
We
okay.
we put together our enrollment process in January.
Got it, okay.
For the fall, so
Thank
that's
you.
when we're looking to have it approved in January for the fall, August of
Understood.
23.
Thank you.
And I would like, I mean, I love these initiative things and I love hearing how they go. So I would love to hear, like this time next year, how it's gone. And I feel like we're gonna have a ton of kids that are gonna wanna do this. I could be totally wrong, but a ton of kids that are gonna wanna do this. And then how do we accommodate
Part of it is
and
you
do
can
that?
only grow as fast as your teachers are proved to be adjunct professors too, so that's the other piece,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So there's requirements that Ferris will have that our teachers will need to, in some cases, plan for several years in advance if they want to get to that point. So that's another constraint on how quickly this could develop is the number of teachers we have that qualify as that adjunct professor.
So are we ready to move this to vote in December? Okay. If you have other questions or extra questions, I really do encourage you. I think this is an important thing. That we're starting and giving our kids opportunities. I think this is an amazing thing. So I encourage you, if you have other questions before our meeting in December, that you reach out to our high school or to Adam. Sorry, I cannot think of any of your names sitting there right now. But I do think this is important, so I would really like to get this voted. So if you have any hesitation or questions, please make sure you get those answered before our meeting in December so we can vote on this and let them get going. All right, next up, I believe this is Mr. Herrick. And anybody else that would like to join him, not that he has to be the only one.
Yes, the anonymous AP statistics teacher that we're kind of
I know,
alluding to.
sometimes if you're sitting in the audience, that's the only thing our head goes to.
Yeah.
Like, throw it out there.
Yeah. So this is referring to a new initiative that was passed by state government in the summer. There is this push to incorporate personal finance class, or might be called financial literacy. And this was passed, and it's going to become active, I think, for this year's 8th grade class. So this year's 8th graders will be required to take a personal finance class as one of their graduation requirements. And it's currently a class that we offer, which is good. However, we were kind of looking down the line and we recognized that there might be some scheduling conflicts with some students down the road. So if we move to the next slide. Right now, we currently offer a 2-year Algebra 2 class. Algebra 2 is a graduation requirement for the state. And we offer a 2-year Algebra 2 class for students that traditionally struggle to learn all the concepts in a traditional 1-year course. We implemented this several years ago. And the issue that we were looking at was for these students that are taking credit of geometry as freshmen, credit of Algebra 1 as sophomores, then they're getting Algebra 2 as a junior, but they're taking it over 2 years. So they're taking the second part of Algebra 2 as seniors. They've got their 4 math credits in, and yet they still need to get another half credit now with this personal finance class in. And these are traditionally students that already struggle in mathematics. So in order to give these students a little bit of a break, and some of these students are also taking a geometry support class as freshmen. So some of these struggling math students are taking 5.5 credits of math. We wanted to maybe figure out some way of reducing maybe some of the stress they're going to have in a class that they might not particularly enjoy in the first place. So the next slide, what we're proposing doing is taking our current 2-year, what we call Algebra 2 extended class, and changing it to what we're calling a 1-year Algebra 2 enrichment course. Right now, we currently offer a Algebra 1 enrichment course along with our regular algebra class. And the Algebra 1 enrichment course is designed to kind of meet the needs of maybe struggling math students. So while you might not deal with maybe Algebra 1 topics as deep as students taking a regular Algebra 1 class, we're still learning all the concepts that are required by the state of Michigan's Algebra 1 requirements and standards. So our proposal is to take our 2-year class in Algebra 2, condense it into the main standards that students need to learn in Algebra 2, do it over 1 year, maybe we're not covering some of the topics as deep, but we look at it as these students are already needing to take the SAT test in their junior year. So for some of these students, they're learning material that needs to be on the SAT. They're learning it after they take the SAT. So we look at that as being a win, as well as these students now can fit in a personal finance class their senior year along with a math elective. And on the next slide, I'm going to go one more slide past that. We're going to go one more slide past that because I'm a chart person. This is kind of what we're thinking things are going to look like. So our existing format is kind of on the top row. Some 9th grade students that are struggling in math are taking 1 or 2 credits in math. Sophomore year is going to be an Algebra 1 or Algebra 1 enrichment class. Junior year, they start the first half of Algebra 2. Senior year, they'll have the second half of Algebra 2, but then they're also going to have to get the personal finance class in. Whereas in our proposed format, students will get all of the Michigan requirements for mathematics. It's going to be a little bit more geared toward, again, kind of their learning styles. And then senior year, instead of having to take Algebra 2, they can take their personal finance or financial literacy class along with a math elective. And we offer several math electives already at the high school. There are MVU options as well that students can take if there's something that's more geared toward their interest. And on the next slide, I kind of gave you some ideas of things that we currently offer that students could take their senior year along with personal finance. So this would open up opportunities for students to take business classes, robotics classes, obviously Wilson Talent Center classes or MVU classes can also be taken. So our proposal is to take the existing extended 2-year Algebra 2 class and turn it into what we're calling an Algebra 2 extended class, which models already an Algebra 1 extended class or Algebra 1 enrichment class we currently offer.
Nice. Any questions?
Makes sense.
No, it does. It makes sense. I get it. All right. So we can, if we're comfortable, we will move this to vote. Adam, is there anything you want to add?
No, nice job, Ray. Thank you.
Good. Got it. All right. I think Rebecca Olson is a celebrity Williamston basketball player of the year.
Survived getting carried around.
I saw the picture.
Not what I signed up for. That is not other duties as assigned. 2 things before I start. Thank you for allowing me to come tonight. 2, we need to put a work order in for that clock up there because it says it's 8:40 and I was getting a little bit past my bedtime. And next agenda, I want to be before Steve. Okay, that's out of the way. So we're going to shift gears.
Oh my gosh.
What's that? We're going to shift gears a little bit, kind of away from academics, but still very focused on the young child's education. I come here tonight just to talk a little bit about Kids Corner and Little Hornet program or playground upgrade proposal. And do I have awesome. Okay, so just a little bit of background of why I'm coming here tonight with this is that we moved the early childhood programs over to the elementary campus in about 2004, 2005. And so at that point, that was when the playgrounds were designed and installed. So even though we continue to pass our yearly inspections and the equipment is still very, very functional, we know that there's been a lot of innovation to design, climber design structures and what is needed for outdoor education, especially after with the COVID pandemic, pushing us more outside, looking at how, what learning opportunities can be done in the outdoor environment and getting children just healthy, good, fresh air and moving. So this project timeline started when funds were acquired. So all of the funds or all of the cost of this project is acquired through child care stabilization funds. So we had 3 rounds of funds that we were awarded December of 2021. That first round, all of the funds were expended for payroll and budget deficit in response to reduced enrollment from the pandemic. So that round of funds was completely expended at this point. So we had March of 2022 and September of 2022, so the spring and summer grants. And so that is where portions of the those grant awards are earmarked for budget deficits of this coming year, personnel cost, increase, just supply and operation costs, and then the remainder is earmarked for this playground project. So from December of 2021 through March of 2022, we started doing some development of how we wanted to spend those stabilization grant funds and a little bit of development of goals and action items. And I'll talk about that in just a quick moment or two. March through August, we talked to different contractors with site visits and did some design works. In August of 2022, our back to school professional development at Kids Corner and Little Hornets really focused on what is outdoor education, what are the needs of the young learner in the outdoor environment, as well as a huge amount of design work so that we heard all of the voices from within our program. Till October, we've been obtaining quotes and doing a lot of different design revisions, and I'll talk about that in a minute. December, right now through December, is that board discussion and hoping for approval, and then moving towards purchase contract. Hopefully before the end of the year, we will get some cost savings if we get it by the end of the year. If we go into January 2023, we still have allotment, but we'll be using 23 pricing. Anticipated installation in May through July, and then final conclusion of the project. And I'll get a little bit more of that. So when we did some goal setting, we really looked at the staff first when we had those stabilization grant funds, and two different surveys were conducted. So the first survey said we had this pool of money, and I worked with Adam as well as Sarah to say what is needed for our operating costs. First and foremost, how are we being fiscally responsible to the district? And then I did ask my staff, if you had extra funds, where would you look at spending those funds? What do you think is important? And 60% of the respondents supported outdoor enhancement projects or playground. That's been something that our program's just been talking about for a long time. Another 60% said, we had several options, but these were the two highest. Supported classroom furniture and materials, which we were able to acquire some of those. So then after we started some of our talking, I did another survey in the spring and said, if we're going to move forward with the playground project, what is it that you think needs a focus on? So there was some high priority placed upon inclusive opportunity for all of our learners, not only children with mobility issues, but also the sensory needs and sensory input. Really strong focus on physical play and the variety of physical opportunity, sensory experiences, dramatic play, looking at that whole child development in an outdoor environment. 100% of the respondents really supported updated structures, and I'll tell you why in just a little bit. And then another 100% of them supported maintaining certain pieces of equipment. So then we went into some goal setting of what do we want out of this project, and just to save time, you've been able to review the presentation, so I won't do all of the bullet points, but really what our focus was developing efficient play spaces, but also a variety of play spaces to really look at that whole child and bringing the curriculum from inside outside, especially at our preschool age. Our preschoolers are there for the full day, and so we have the flexibility with our instructional approaches to take our learning outside, and it's very adaptable. So we started with how can we move towards some of these goals without a huge big expense. So we looked at, and we've acquired some of these purchases already, of buying individual components, and this went to kind of that variety of inclusive activities. A lot of these are ground level objects, so that anybody with mobility issues can engage in activities out on the playground. So we were able to buy what's called a mud kitchen. which will have water in the spring and summer months. And all my, Nancy's like, Nancy will come over and play. But right now they're using just any wood chips and pine needles and a lot of creative opportunities, social engagement. It's really great to see that set up. Outdoor building blocks to really get that heavy work. So, you know, we talk a lot about sensory needs of children, and we know that if we don't give them real tasks and heavy work, they're going to find ways to do that, and it's going to be pushing on furniture or jumping on tables. So giving them good opportunities outside. Sand and water tables, storage boxes so that, again, we can take our curriculum materials outside, additional sand for our sand boxes, and we also did a little bit of playground surfacing with some wood chips. So through our goals and our analysis of what was needed on the playground, we really looked at areas that are running efficiently and areas that really need work. And so on the left, your first one is our preschool climber. And when I go back to the history of Kids Corner and Little Hornets, it started as an infant through 5th grade program. And so the preschool portion of our program was really designed for the toddlers. And so this piece of equipment really has the ability to climb up one step and slide down a slide. It doesn't provide the challenges that we know preschool children need and desire. Like I said, they're still passing inspection, but because this particular item doesn't have metal graded decking, it's got solid decking, it pools water and poses icing and doesn't allow children to use it year round. The middle one is another structure that we just don't have any idea what it's for. It's kind of the modern age teeter-totter, and our set guy last time said he's seen a lot of injuries on these, and it's just not enticing for kids to sit on and bounce, and it's like 1 minute, and it's taking up a huge amount of our play space. The climber on the far right is a school-age designed climber, but what it is each level of bars has a different age group that a child can go on. So the kindergartners are only supposed to go up on the first 2 rungs, 3rd grade, and it's all based on your fall zone. And it's just very confusing to have teachers work appropriately with it. We also did say that we are going to maintain the swings, the large school-age climber, and I'll show you that in a minute, ball drop, cement pad, and bike track. So then we went into talking to companies and looking and gaining some quotes. And the playground industry is fairly standardized in the materials that you're going to use. So your uprights are going to have this consistent diameter, and your fall heights and your decking are going to meet certain safety regulations. Where you're going to find a huge big difference is kind of like, is it a solid plastic surfacing or is it a strong metal surfacing? What's the durability and the sustainability? Where you're also going to find a huge variance in the quotes is the professionalism and the relationship you have with the company. There are some companies that say, oh, we're going to come out to your site, and I've had a couple come out to our site a couple times, measure your space, see what fits in that space, really talk with you and customize it. And other people say, here's our catalog, click on a couple things and I'll give you a quote. And they trust you to measure your space, you to make sure that it meets all of the use zonage, you to do the installation, you to coordinate everything. And so there's where you're going to get a very big difference in pricing. And there's some, I put some little notes underneath each one. Going through the process, like I said, I've been talking to the people for several months. There was a clear forerunner in our mind, and that came from just the ability to customize the equipment, to really hear our wishes, and to give a very comprehensive quote. And so Sinclair Recreation is definitely our forerunner, and that's what the presentation is going to be about moving forward. I know it looks like it's the most expensive. I did, that includes all inclusive, and I'll give all of the details for it, as well as the 2023 pricing. So if we did have to move to that time frame. Okay, so here is our kind of overview. I talk about preschool zones and school age zones, and then larger space. The left side of the screen, what you're going to see is you're going to see Areas that are in blue, and those are our current boundaries. And those distinguish between the left side of the map is our school age zone, and the right side of the map in that blue is our preschool zone. And they don't overcross because it is based on age. So what we're looking at is replacing the climber, the school age climber at the top of the left side and the preschool climber at the bottom of the right side. And we looked at taking a huge big redesign, taking everything out, putting new stuff in, and we were advised not to. They said the swings are still very good, keep those in the locations. So we're working within that footprint as the most cost effective and most bang for our buck. So you'll also see in there is some zones of red. The red is the usage zone. So playground equipment is very particular about how much space is at the end of a chute of a slide. How tall a piece of equipment is, you have to have 1.5 times of that fall height width-wise in order to use. I rely on all of our experts. I'm not an expert on fall use zones, so I relied on them to really measure that out. And so you'll also see a black border around both because we're going to expand our boundaries a tiny little bit, still within our basic footprint, but to make sure that we are well within those use zones. Currently, our swings are not within the use zones, and either the boundary shifted over time or something happened. The preschool swings used to have bucket swings on them where toddlers, and when they moved to preschool, it doesn't have the correct use zones. It continues to pass inspection, but they did say if we do any modifications, we really have to change it. And for the benefit and safety of our students, we really want to change that. So it stays within our overall footprint, but we will be adjusting some of those boundaries. So here is the fun part. We took a lot of time when designing the structures, really input from the kiddos. This summer we had really big dream boards all over the place, and we had people circling things that they like, and we had children cutting out catalogs, and then my teachers were like kids in a candy shop, and they were just like ripping everything out and pasting it all over. But we really looked at the first of all, the safety standards of it, and then the opportunities for kids. So the preschool climber has ways to climb vertically. It has ways to do an arch. It has different handholds. It has opportunities to hang upside down. It has opportunities to hang and really get that pressure into your muscles. It has opportunities for power and perspective on the very different deck heights. It has opportunities for slides. We can still, make small tweaks and changes. I've worked with this company, but we really feel that we added a lot of varying opportunities that the kiddos do not already have. There's also some seats on the bottom and holes to peek in through for our kiddos who are either able to climb or just don't want to go on that higher height. This is our school age upgrade, and so removing of that silver climber and that red-black tube. And what we did here was really looked and listened to the kiddos of what they wanted. They wanted kind of a rock wall-esque type of experience. They also wanted lots of jungle gym. What we did here was took all of the components that the various teachers liked and put them into a series. And by putting them into a series connected, the student can either start at one end and go all the way through, or can do each individual component. By putting them in a series like this, we were able to get the most activities within the smallest footprint. Because if you were to put them into sections, then you'd have to have that fall use zone in between each section, which is another 10 feet of wasted space. So that's just several different angles from that. We're also looking at, and I call this freestanding equipment, but it's actually permanently installed equipment in the center location, another ground area opportunities, and these are some musical instruments. The one on the left is a bongo drum and really a great drum. The one on the right is more of a chimes, we're still working on maybe tweaking that one a little bit because it fits in the space and that's what is in the quote, but we still have an opportunity to maybe downsize that one a little bit, but still add some music into that zone. With this permanently installed equipment, it doesn't have a use zone around it, so we have some flexibility there. This company allows us to do a customized palette, and so we were going to go with more of a natural tone to fit in. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, bright colors, respect for the young kids need bright colors. They don't. They need more of a natural environment and let them shine and let them take center stage. So it's kind of a combination of what's already there in nature as well as our school colors. The quote includes removal of the old structures, the site preparation from the removal. So, you know, if we were to do removal and if we didn't prepare the site, some of the other companies were going to charge us about different fees for preparing the site. They're going to remove the structures, they're going to prepare the site, they're going to do all of the installation. The quote does include the adjustment and addition of those borders so that they comply with CPSI standard regulations. It includes all of the engineering wood fiber, your wood chip surfacing, the 6 inches and the 12 inches for all of the necessary absorption. And it includes the lifetime limited for the uprights, 15-year for the decking. Some of the other things that we were really taken into consideration when I went with this company as my recommendation is that the designs are all customized for our equipment, our kiddos, the sizing of our kiddos, our color preferences, what we wanted within our environment. They were very frequent and responsive to communication. You'll see on it was option 4. We've been through 4 different design phases. I've got an email thread of him for like 50 different emails back and forth. They did repeated site visits to us. Other ones said, oh, here's a one and done, and we're not sure if it's going to fit. Very responsive to us, and they came highly recommended from local organizations. Lansing and Eaton Rapids have recently gone with them, and so they're reputable from our liability, our SETSAG guy knew them as well. Okay. So there's the purchase, but you know we also have some more long-term projects too that you know after the purchase of the equipment we still need to do some enhanced signage to support PBIS as well as just you know a variety of social skills. That is minor, but those are still things that are on our long-term goal. We'll still look at the grassy area. We haven't done anything with the field area, so after this renovation project, we may have to spend some money to maybe replant some grass seed or something of that nature. We still have some side money to do that. In the event, we may do some more flat work at the end to expand the building and the sensory zones and the bike track, but those will be longer term projects. So one other thing I failed to mention earlier is that, you know, I did talk with Adam and Sarah about, you know, our stabilization grant funds and what amount we were comfortable earmarking towards this project. But we also had conversations with Brandon Weingartz, the Director of Facilities, and he's reviewed the plan as well as our insurance people, and they have approved or are in support of the project, and he wrote that memo to the board as well. So my recommendation would be to enter contract with Sinclair Recreation for the purchase of the playground structures, the removal and disposal of the identified structures, installation of the new equipment, and then safety surfacing for all of the area. The quote was for $103,000, but I did say that the contract cost not to exceed $115,000, just in the event that during the final phases, if the quote was to go up or down a little bit, or if we ran into any contingencies at that during the installation phase.
I have a question.
Questions, please.
Having gone through this process twice in my lifetime, I know how much work is involved, and I credit you with all the work you did with your staff. I have a question about the underlayment, and I know that's a huge expense. doesn't look like much to people walking up, but the depth and all of that and what you put in that is expensive. However, I know the DNR now is using the flat rubberized surfaces so that wheelchairs and kids with mobility problems can go right up to swings and things, and they're not limited to what they can, other than their own, mobility issues. But did you consider that at all?
You know, we did. And with the amount of playground space that we had, I am considering doing it in different zones. So for instance, maybe putting a different surfacing near our mud kitchen, or a landscaping or a gardening project outside so that they could do it. The cost of upkeep, if a repair had to happen, was going to be a lot more than replacing wood chips yearly, because the wood chips are able to be replaced. And so to take out everything that is existing and do the site prep was going to be more than we had at this time.
Did they think that was a yearly thing?
No, it was just if we had to repair it or replace it. So, we could possibly do it in the center portions, but that was...
And is any of the equipment going to be, there are swings and things for kids in wheelchairs. Did you look into any of that?
So I believe we can do, so the swings, to add it, everything had a use zone. And so we are considering maybe taking out 2 of the swings and leaving 2 of the swings and using the existing frame as another project. In order to install a new set, it was going to take a lot of our grassy open space. Unfortunately, we're trying to work within
But that sounds like a good option, to take out 2 of the swings and put that in there.
So that's still on our kind of long-term plan.
Okay.
So with the majority of the work being done over the summer, what contingencies do you have to plan for in regards to summer programming and the work that has to get done with parents and students being dropped off and all of that, all those aspects?
Well, the great thing is we have so much experience from last year. They did say it would be about a week installation. And so it all depends on when we can get the materials. And right now that's always the uncertainty of, the earlier that we order, the better. And so we've got kind of 3 different identified windows as prime opportunities. If we could do it during the week of spring break, because they said about a week, if we could do it during the week of spring break, that's really going to be pushing, and I don't think that's a realistic timeline, but that would be an ideal time. The other preferable time would be the week that school is closed before we open camp. And then all of the parking lots would be all cleared and things of that sort. The other option we have is after camp is closed for the week in between school and that, which I don't think is an ideal week because of the amount of traffic that comes into the school campus. If we do need to close our playground for the week during camp, we would utilize the other playgrounds, which we did on a daily basis last year.
Thank you.
It's not ideal. It's never a great time to do it, but I don't anticipate closing our program in order to use to do the playground project.
Any other questions for Rebecca?
No. Thank you. Looks good.
Looks amazing.
I would love feedback, and Deb, I would love to have a meeting with you in the next, anytime that you have, if you really look at it and have some input or some other contacts that we didn't explore. I would welcome it.
I think my kids played on that.
I know, it looks amazing.
18 years ago, so it's been a while.
Yes, it's been.
Yeah.
Are we ready to move this forward?
Yes.
All right, superintendent's evaluation. Chris?
Yes, thank you all for getting me your evaluations. As all of you know, we changed a number of years back the process by which we go through the evaluation of Dr. Spina, making it so that it is a year-long process versus a one-time process. So I appreciate your work on getting these in. As you can see in your packet, what you see here is the scores of all of us, of all 7. And these are the average scores. So you can see that Dr. Spina did very well. There's some areas that are a little lower than others, but that's a good thing. Gives Dr. Spina some opportunities to be able to take a look and see if there's things that he can do in the future. But all in all, a average total score of 96.23 out of 100, very good. And you can see across the board, all of the other areas are out of 1, and he was very close to 1 on almost all of them. So I think this shows that we have that we feel that Dr. Spina is doing a very good job. Any thoughts on the process? Any thoughts on anything that you'd like to share with Dr. Spina at this point?
Nice job.
Nice job. I was gonna say, he looks like
Nice
that
job.
kid that didn't get the 4 point, but he was like 3, great job, Adam.
I do want to, I would also like to thank the staff that did the survey. The results for the survey were really nice to read. There's a section in there for comments. All of the comments were very positive about about your communication with them, about being visible, about being around the district, about being seen. Lots of comments about you not playing crossing guard. That sounds horrible, but he's not playing crossing guard. He is literally stepping in as a crossing guard. He has been hit by a car being a crossing guard twice.
Yeah.
So they were very complimentary, which was very nice to see. And I thank them for taking the time to do a survey, because I know you get a survey, you're like, so I do thank them. Do you have any questions for us?
Well, I mean, I appreciate the time and the seriousness that the board puts into the evaluation, but I also appreciate your feedback and insights throughout the year. So as Chris alluded to, this is like a one-time thing. I think one of the things I really value from all of you is the continuous input, questions, and thoughts as the year progresses, and it gives me a lot to think about, different ways of considering different things. So I really do appreciate that. But otherwise, no, I mean, don't do this for the eval. We're trying to continue to make this district an outstanding place for our students, and so I think the biggest takeaway is it's symbolic that you feel the district as a whole is moving in the path that you've charted for it, and that's really the role. That's really what the superintendent role is about. So,
Leaps and bounds.
that's that. I guess for me.
All right, next on our agenda.
Wait, are we ready to move this forward?
Yes, we will move this. We are ready to move this forward. We will vote on this in December. Again, if you have any thoughts that you want to share with Adam, please reach out to do that. Otherwise, we will vote on this in December to move things forward. So I'm going to go off script because I can. I am noticing that there's lots of people in the audience, and I am wondering if any of these individuals have citizen comments. So if anybody here is here for citizen comments, can you just raise your hand? Okay. So we have a closed session to go to, and then we will come out of closed session, and we do have other items on the agenda. But I also see a student here, and it's getting late. In my head, it feels like 11 o'clock, even though it's 8. So I would like to propose, if we're in agreement, I would like an motion to amend the agenda to move citizen comments up before we go into closed session, so we allow these individuals to speak to us so they don't have to wait until we come out. That is not to say I'm asking any of you to leave. We will go into closed session, we will come out, we still have items on the agenda, but I do want to give you a chance to not have to sit here while we're in closed session. And this would be for all of you, not just the student in the audience. So, are we in agreement to do this?
Yes.
Okay, can I please have a motion to amend the agenda?
Move to amend the agenda to push citizen comments forward.
At like 6.
Okay, so I have a motion by Dave to move citizen comments up to under discussion items, which I get where that's not where it's supposed to go, but under students evaluation, Chris is going to second. Any other discussion about that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry, I'm just writing this down so Betsy can, I'm sure she's there. Cursing this out right now. Okay, so we will do citizen comments right now. You may speak on anything that you'd like as an agenda item. You step up to the podium, give your name and address, or I might just put I'm actually going to put a piece of paper up. You don't have to do that. If you do a citizen comment, if you put your name and address, it is up there. And you have 3 minutes, and when you start talking, I will time you, and then a dinger will go off when you are done. So if anybody would like to step to the podium, you may.
I'm sorry, sign in first?
You can take that back and sign in at the end.
Okay.
We need your name.
We'll just pass it around.
Yeah, we need your name and address for the record, and our secretary is doing that remotely right now, so.
Gotcha, thank you. All right. My name is Tavis Millerove. I reside at 122 Lloyd Street here in town. First of all, let me recognize those of you who made it through last Tuesday unscathed and congratulate you on your re-election to the board. Secondly, I'm not sure I can accurately convey our situation within public comment period, but I'm going to try. I would like to invite each of you to contact me at the phone number that I gave at the end of my original email that came when I requested to be on tonight's agenda. Through open and honest dialogue, we can achieve a lot of understanding. So my son Brody is a high school senior and a swimmer. He's been swimming competitively since the age of 5. Has been a captain on both the middle school and high school teams. He holds, his name is on the varsity record board not once, but 3 times on our pool right now. He recently committed to swim for and attend Saginaw Valley State University. What that commitment means is he cannot slow down, okay? Sometimes you see athletes kind of coast off their senior year, not him. His college coaches have given him time goals to hit, and he has scholarship money on the line for those time standards. The current high school coach was hired in the fall of 2020. She was fresh out of college, brand new coach, had experience coaching during college, but had not coached high school or collegiate level. She has admitted to my son more than once that he is beyond her level of coaching. Therefore, in order to improve, he needs to continue with his year-round club swimming. Michigan High School Athletic Association rules allow an athlete to practice with outside of school teams and still compete for their schools. While this practice is not known throughout Michigan, it is commonplace in other states such as North Carolina. When Brody presented this plan to his coach, he was denied and given the reason it was not fair to the other swimmers on the team. The twist to this situation, however, is that this exact practice is already happening on the very same team.
You have 1 minute.
Okay. Divers, it's Williamston Swim and Dive, who are on the same team, have been going to club diving practices all along. These team members supplement their diving skills by attending club practices and are still allowed to compete in regular team events. If it's okay for them, why is it not okay for Brody? We appealed to the athletic director, who simply stated it was unacceptable to the athletic department with no further explanation. I appealed to our superintendent, who has yet to respond to me. Therefore, even though this is an administrative decision, it's not something a school board would get involved with, I get it, but I'm appealing to this board. I'm asking that this board direct Dr. Spina to investigate the discrepancy of why members of the same team, using the same body of water, are allowed to practice with their respective club teams while my son is denied. The bottom line is, Brody can't practice with a coach who's already stated that she is not up to his level. If he's going to continue to do this and do this at the collegiate level, then he should not be punished for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Good evening, members. My name is Brody Millerove. I am the swimmer who was in question by my father's testimony. And I wanted to come up here and state a little bit about my own personal experience with this. I take my role as a swimmer incredibly seriously. I've been swimming for 13 years straight now, only having to take a break because of the pandemic. I take the sport incredibly seriously, as serious as my academics even. And to then have my appeal to be able to continue to swim as a member of the team, albeit modified because of the lack of qualification by the coach to be able to properly give me improvement in my practices. By being denied by that, I found myself rather troubled, not being able to continue as a member of my team. A position where I was able to make captainship and find a lot of pride in my teammates. And to just simply be turned down for a accommodation which was something already given to other teammates, I felt rather left out or pushed to the side. And in doing so, it hurt me on a very real level. But I feel it also has hurt my team, since having to step down as a member of the team, 2 other members of the team have also stepped down in either as camaraderie or just on their own terms. And I know of at least one other member of the team who has admitted to me plans to step down or away from the team, depending on how this investigation and or what comes of it. I don't come to be a bratty kid trying to get the board to force a hand of an administrator or of a coach. I simply ask you to look into this with an intent eye and to not just push this aside. This means an incredible amount to me. I spent 6 years on this team and I've loved every minute of it, and to have to put it to the side and not be able to participate for my final year has been a real letdown. With that, I yield my time.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Colleen Formsma, and I am Brody Millerove's grandmother. And I want to just tell you that Brody, if you were to meet him, he is a friendly, funny, and gentle man. Not only is he all of those things, but he's a hard worker. When he started high school, he set his goals high, academically and for the sport he loves. Sorry. Anyway, he's achieved the academics, and he also has achieved highly in swimming. Last year, he was 10th in the state after the state finals. For him to be denied, that she won't let him swim on the team because he wants to go with the club, I think is deplorable. He basically needs the coaching for his stamina and for the stroke development. He basically just needs to cut 2 seconds off of the time. If you know how hard it is, swimming is a tough sport. He needs somebody who's going to manage that. Ava, I can't think of her last name. Anyway, Ava, she's a sophomore at Williamston High School, did practice diving with a sports team the whole semester. And her scores from the end of last year to the end of this year went from 125 to 258 because of that development. And I think that if she was allowed the privilege that Brody Millerove should be allowed the privilege to practice with the club team and also participate on the team that he loves. So, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Hi. Craig Formsla, Colleen's husband and Brody's grandfather, 1908 Maple Shade, Williamston. I kind of feel like we bypassed HR and went straight to the president of the company, which is terrible to do, but we've already gone to the coach and the athletic director. Couple quick parallels with the Ferris State people here. To have a faculty member have to qualify to teach these courses. We have a coach in Williamston who's not qualified to advance a swimmer. You recognize the most valuable basketball player. He's going to be your most valuable swimmer if he gets to swim. And unfortunately, we're asking you in your position to step in on behalf of Brody and go to the coaches and just allow him to swim for this high school team. His name's on the boards. He probably, his brother Bailey, if you don't know, swims for Kalamazoo College. And he's got his records on the boards in Williamston, and unfortunately, Brody's going to take all those off, but his brother's happy with it. And so again, our position is we've tried to go in the right order, and we need help. So we'd appreciate your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heidi Holden, and this is my son Isaac Holden. He's on the swim team with Brody, and I'd like to offer just a little bit of an outside perspective. So you've heard from a lot of Brody's relatives, so they're going to be a little bit partial, obviously, to Brody because he is really a great kid. But I'm from the outside. I actually have a daughter on the swim team, Isabel. She's a senior also, and I have a son on the swim team. And from the perspective of the coach saying it's not fair, that's from her perspective. I don't know that the team was ever asked. I'm guessing no. But if you were to ask the kids on the team whether they would rather have Brody on the team in the competition standpoint and allow him to compete or to practice with his MMA team, I'm pretty sure that the vast majority would agree that that is an okay situation. That they understand the situation, they understand swimming. Some of the other boys, my son swims with MMA also, my daughter swims with MMA also, and they understand the level of coaching and the differences that we have. So I feel that because there is no written policy that doesn't allow this, there's nothing in the MHSAA rules that doesn't allow this, and we've also set precedents. I don't feel that the decision made by the coach is very fair, so we're just asking for some additional muscle to come in and help explain that situation is maybe needs to be relooked at. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'd just like to say I'm Isaac Holden, but Brody is, I'd say, probably the heart of the team right now, and swim season without him would not be as enjoyable. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Can't see behind the podium, so. All right, thank you very much. Again, you are more than welcome to stay, but wanted to give you a chance to speak before we go into our closed session. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, can I have a motion to go into closed session to discuss school safety?
Motion to go into closed session to discuss school safety.
Second.
First by Chris, second by Deb. Julie's going to take us to roll call, and then we are going to, Michelle is going to take a picture of us with Adam, and then we will go into closed session, but she was willing to do that before I left.
Good.
So Julie, will you take us through?
Sure. Deb?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Julie? Yes. Pass.
All right. We will ahead into.
Sarah, are you staying here? Are you staying here?
No.
You're coming with us?
No, I'm going.
She's leaving.
She's
Oh,
leaving.
you're leaving, okay. So we probably should bring our stuff?
We could just stay here if everyone else is leaving.
If they leave, are you guys staying or leaving?
I'm just getting cake during your closed session.
You go ahead.
That's my dinner.
So no, go ahead, get
Oh.
some
Do we have
cake.
to turn-
Healthy,
And then she-
very healthy.
Turn that off?
Very healthy.
And then we'll turn the
Yes.
camera and the mics off, and then we can stay where we are.
Right here.
we take a 2-minute restroom break?
Yes, let's come out of closed session and then we need a 2-minute break. She needs to go back in. So let's come out and then go, okay?
Sure.
So can I have a motion to come out of closed session?
Motion to come out of closed session.
Second.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to write come out.
I can't even talk.
First Chris, second was Dave. And Julie, will you take us to a roll call, please?
Deb?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
And Julie, yes.
Nancy.
Nancy. Oh, did I not say Nancy?
Sorry.
Nancy, sorry.
That's fine. All right, we'll take a 2-minute break and then we'll come back and finish our agenda. So going into closed session was first.
Yeah.
Chris and Deb. Coming out was Chris and Dave. And then she did a roll call vote. Yes.
What time was it? I guess a minute ago.
9,
About 9, 7, 8, 16?
16. And then I have the wording for the motion, if she didn't get that coming out, is moving motion to move citizen comments up before closed session.
I think she was going to stay on to the one into closed session, so anything prior to this, she's got.
She got that right. Back to our agenda, and Adam, can you update us on the school resource officer and Williamston Police? I should ask, are we back on?
Yes.
Okay.
So as part of our ongoing efforts to improve school security and safety, last week the district applied for the school resource officer grant through MSP, Michigan State Police. We applied Friday, and from what we understand, we'll hear back from the grant sometime in January as if to see if we will receive any funding from that. So that would be something that would allow us to add more time with school resource officers across our district campuses. At this point, I guess a couple of variables. One is we don't know if we'll receive the funding. And the other piece, which is, I think, the reality of whether we receive the funding or not, is the availability of officers to fill that role. And so I think it was a great idea in this year's budget to make this grant available to districts to apply for. It doesn't account for the fact that there's a lack of qualified police officers to take those roles, even if districts get the money, which I do feel has the potential to occur for us. Nevertheless, we've had a great partnership with the Williamston Police Department, and it's worth attempting to pursue. And we'll just see where that goes once we hear back from them around January.
Any questions?
Right, so one of the things that we discussed in closed session with the board is, or we have been discussing, is our school safety plans and emergency operation plan. So in keeping with the conversation we just brought up about whether or not we can find officers to fill that role, we discussed, and I would be agreeable to volunteering at no cost to the district to have fill part of that capability, subject to getting feedback from staff and parents, and that would to fill part of the SRO capability to be able to respond to an imminent or present threat on one of our district campuses. I want to clarify though, to make sure that we're clear as we talk about this, that nothing has changed as far as threats to our schools. We are basically the same posture, same situation we've been this year as we have been in other years, so there's nothing different. But as we look to consider all available options to ensure our staff and students are safe, this is an available option to consider. I am willing to fill, like I said, part of that capacity at no cost to the district, but I think it's important that we get some time to socialize that, hear from our staff and parents, and see what their thoughts are about that potential arrangement.
Adam, what would that look like?
So I think when you look at what a school resource officer provides, there's a pretty broad range of capabilities that they're able to perform when they're in a school. This potential idea would be, I would just take a small sliver of their capabilities. And so it would be something that was put on reserve in case of a worst case scenario, but that for the, hopefully 100% of my time forever would only be spent doing my normal day-to-day superintendent responsibilities. But it's providing us, again, a capability that would potentially decrease the response time to confront an active or imminent threat on one of our campuses, which is a function of a school resource officer, and add to the number of hours that capability is available, irregardless of whether we can find full-time officers or even part-time officers to come in and fill the SRO role, assuming we get that grant. Does that clarify?
Okay. So, 2 questions. What kind of shortage do we have currently of available? So if we do get this grant in January, it sounds like you're not confident from current stats that we would be able to find a resource officer that would be able to fit that role. And second, what are your criteria to be able to fill that role?
Well, I mean,
or qualifications?
Personally?
Yes.
Well, okay, so for the first question, I think it remains to be seen in terms of whether we'll be able to find officers through our partnership with Williamston employees to fill the role. But I do know we've struggled historically to find continuity and sustainability with that. Although, again, they've been great partners, and they've made every effort to help us out every chance they can, including above and beyond in some cases, just doing things like we've talked about, directing traffic outside the elementary campus. They don't need to do that, but they're doing everything they can to be interconnected with their schools. So, personal background, as I was surprised to find out earlier in the meeting, I'm retired as a military police officer and held a variety of different roles, graduated from a number of different academies with that. Also qualified Department of Defense law enforcement officer and a Williamston Reserve police officer. So when you look at kind of this criteria that we'd be looking to bring a person in through the SRO grant, already meet or exceed those qualifications. That said, it's not something that I think any of us, including myself, are particularly happy about having to consider. It is something that, as we've discussed, is weighed heavily on me when we talk about doing everything we can do to make sure that our staff and students are safe, even though, again, to reiterate, we're not talking about anything that has changed, anything different in terms of our any threat to our schools at this point in time. But it weighs on me that when we have some of these tragedies we've seen in our country recently, that I feel like I have the training and the background to be able to respond to those and significantly decrease the amount of time that it takes to confront a potential threat versus waiting for law enforcement, who will get here as quickly as they can, but it could still be a gap of several minutes, in which case, during which time a lot of different things can happen. So this is not an easy topic, and it's a difficult one, and it's not something I really want to do per se, but it is something that, given a worst case scenario, I think I would regret not being able to do more, given that I have that background. So, but that said, I'm volunteering the capability, and I guess I'm open to feedback and questions from the community, from our staff. If it's something that folks don't feel is appropriate or not interested in, that's completely understandable. And it's a concept that I'm proposing, but also understand might not go forward.
So I think to move forward on this is something that we would vote on in open session. But I think we need to do some legwork first. I don't think this is something we just move and vote, quickly. So I think Adam does need to take some time and talk to the staff and see where everybody is. I'd also like to schedule some type of community coffee time, tea time. I mean, it doesn't have to be during morning, whatever, that Adam is available. Some of us can be present, not all of us can be present, but some of us can be present, and feel out the community. Let them come in, ask some questions of what this might look like and what we might foresee this to be. Again, it's brainstorming ideas, because we don't have, if we get this grant, there might not be someone that we can even hire additionally. We're also talking about response time. I do believe, talking to Chief Wolf, he believes they could be here if they were on the very outskirts, of town, dealing with something that could be 3 to 4 minutes, where Adam could be a minute away. I think that's something we have to think about. Also, this is not, I do want to make sure all of us are understanding, because if we're going to start getting these questions, that we're doing this because there was a threat. We all know that we had some writing in the bathroom that has been taken care of. That's no longer a threat. This is not why we're doing this. It has been on our agenda, discussing things, brainstorming things. Safety is our utmost concern, and we spend a lot of money on our structure. And this is another idea that we can use Adam and his talents for good, I guess. So next steps, Adam, I think we'll talk to staff and the different bargaining groups and everybody, and then maybe setting a meeting for the next couple of weeks to let the community come in, and parents, community, whoever, to ask some questions and determine where we move forward.
I think it'll be a good opportunity too, if folks are available to, we can just talk about some of the things that have been done already. And we keep trying to communicate those things, but I know people are busy and don't always have time to read everything that's sent out. So if nothing else, it'll be an informal Q&A, and ask questions and kind of find out about some of the steps that we have been taking or will continue to take moving forward, regardless of whether this goes forward or not. So.
And I do, and a side note with that, I do, we get updates all the time about, oh, these locks went in, this lock went in, this doorbell went in, and I'm like, great, yeah. And I was here last week and was moving from one part of the building to the other and got caught between these two things because new locks had gone on the door, and I wasn't even, I'm like, why can't I push the door open? She's like, oh, you need a key. Don't you have a badge? I'm like, no, I don't need a badge. But now, then, she gave me a badge, she badged it. I went in, then coming back, I couldn't get in. Someone let me in, and then I kind of got stuck because then she left, and I was in this Michelle Smith walked by, and I'm like, oh, can you let me in? So we have done a lot of upgrades, and that would be a great opportunity again to talk to our community about that.
Agreed. Thanks.
Any other questions on this? We're good with the plan moving forward? Adam, I do thank you for thinking outside of the box on this and giving us another opportunity. I love the idea that there's grant money, but again, if we can't get people for the grant money, that doesn't really help us. All right, so next item. Can I get a motion for the calendar?
Make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education approve the minutes of the board meeting held on October 24th, 2022 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. There are no roll call votes or separate action item votes. We do have our board goals are there. Our correspondence from Deb Lee is stepping down as of the 11th. We move citizen comments. Any board member reports or requests? I do have one. I would like to congratulate Deb and Sarah and Chris for winning their seats. I know you guys put a lot of hard work into that, so congratulations to you. I also want to say I don't know if it's congratulations, but it is nice to see in a community that people do take an interest and want to run for a seat and be part of the community, and that was nice to see too, that people had choices. But congratulations for you guys for winning those seats back. I do also want to thank you all for, I know doing Adam's evaluation sometimes is tedious. It's not necessarily even just doing his part of the evaluation, it's really being present and hearing. I mean, these are goals that we set, that we ask other people to implement. So that can be a little daunting, but we're asking them to implement these and then making sure that we are on the same page with Adam on if they're implementing them, the way that our vision was, or whatever you want to say. So I do thank you for taking the time and taking that seriously. I did have board members reach out to me and ask questions about things, or just where should I find this or that, and so that does show me you take it seriously, so I do appreciate that. Anything else?
I went to the basketball game, so Wizards versus Williamston Celebrities, and I thought it was a great event, so kudos to Williamston Performing Arts for putting that on. Thought it was a great event for everyone. Also, Williamston Schools Foundation is bringing back their Pancakes with Santa. I believe that's December 3rd. So if you want to pre-order your tickets, you can go on the website and do that now.
Adam, we heard from a number of people today about a single issue. Will you be following up with that family after this?
Yes.
Anything else? All right, thank you very much. I need a motion to adjourn. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn.
First Chris, second Dave, any discussion? All right, at 9:34, adjourn.